Finally, today I'm going to talk about acupuncture theory, channel meridian theory in acupuncture. I'm going to share the cyclical flow of chi, the meridian layers, the function, the characteristics. Why do we use them in clinical practice to select our points in order to have a better treatment? It's really important to understand how the meridian theory function in order to do a better treatment. Does that make sense? I'm also going to look at Western science and how it looks at meridians so we can explain it better to our patients in a term that they can totally understand, grasp, and educate the world about this amazing medicine. Are you ready for it? Let's go. Welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, I'm Clara from AcuPro Academy, and I create Chinese medicine and acupuncture content for students and practitioners, making it easy to grasp and fun to learn. Let's rock it. Let's start with the meridian layers, and then we're going to go and look at the 12 regular main meridians, characteristics, and how we utilize them in clinical practice. But if we start at the layers, we're going to start at the deepest layer all the way up to the surface. The deepest meridians are the 12 regular meridians plus the 8 extra vessels. Then the next one is looking at the 12 divergence, the 15 collaterals, the 12 muscular regions, and the 12 dermatomes. I have a whole video explaining all the meridian layers, and I'll link it below this one so you can access it and watch it more in depth. So today I'm just going to go over them very quickly because I want to really focus on the 12 main meridians. The 12 main meridians' main function is to carry qi and blood, while for the vessels, it's to carry essence. So it really connects them with TCM kidneys, right? The next layer is the divergence. The 12 divergence come from the 12 main meridians, and they kind of extend the main meridians in a bigger area. Does that make sense? So they diverge, they extend. For example, the large intestine will have a divergence that start at the shoulder and extend all around the shoulder, so we can treat more problem affecting the shoulder utilizing the large intestine meridian connecting to its own divergent. The 15 collaterals, which are usually 15 or 16, do watch my meridian layer explaining why they are 16 or 15, and I also have a video on the lower collateral specifically, so you can watch that. I'll put it in the link below as well. So the 15 or 16 collaterals, what they do is they connect the internal and external part of the body, but they also connect the yin and yang related organs or meridians. So for example, the long collateral will connect to the large intestine through the lower collateral point, which is long 7. And then the large intestine will connect through the lower connecting point of the large intestine, which is large intestine 6. So stomach 40 connects to the spleen because that's the lower connecting point of the stomach. And it has a lower collateral from stomach 40 that connects to the spleen. Spleen 4 is the lower connecting point of the spleen, and it connects to the stomach. Okay? So that's what the collaterals do. The muscular regions are just the surface part of the main meridians. So the muscular region, let's say, of the bladder, which covers the whole back, all the back muscle are going to be connected to the bladder meridian, but also to the surface muscular region of the bladder. Okay? And then if we look at the dermatomes, it's the same thing. So let's say the dermatome of the lung, where the lung travels, if we see in clinical practice that someone has eczema on the lung meridian, then we need to see what else is happening. So it's really going to help us figure out that maybe eczema is due to liver overacting on the lung and creating some outbreak or eczema, but also because it's located on the lung meridian, then we know to also address the lung, right? Not just the liver. So it really helps us narrow it down our diagnosis. So those are the layers of the meridians that are going to help us in clinical practice to identify which meridian is affected, what point to select, for example, with the lower connecting point. If you have stomach and spleen issue, let's say stomach qi rebelling, acid reflux, but you also have spleen qi deficiency like diarrhea, loose stools, bloating, cravings, then you can use the collateral like stomach 40 and spleen 4 because they're the dual connecting point connecting the spleen and stomach together. Does that make sense? So this is how we're going to use them. Let's look at the 12 main meridians because those are the ones we use the most in clinical practice, and all the points that we use obviously are going to be located on the 12 main meridians. So their function is to carry qi and blood. It is to connect the internal organ with the external part where the needles or the points are. There are 6 hand meridian, which means they start or finish at the hand, and 6 foot meridians, which means they start or finish at the foot. There are 6 yin meridians and 6 yang meridians, and they obviously pair with each other. So those are the hand meridian, long and large intestine, yin and yang, heart and small intestine, yin and yang, and pericardium and sanjiao, yin and yang. For the foot meridian, we have the spleen and stomach, yin and yang, the kidney and the bladder, same thing, yin and yang, and the liver and gallbladder, liver is yin, gallbladder is yang. As you can see, it's a beautiful balanced system. Let's look at the main functions of the 12 regular meridians. The first one is they carry qi and blood, so they're moving qi and blood all over the body. The second one is they pertain to the zangfu organs, and they're connecting the organs to the surface where the points are. Remember, the long meridian, for example, starts in the middle jiao, that's the internal branch, and it goes down to the large intestine, then up to the long organ, and then it'll go back up to the throat and comes out at long 1 on the chest. When long 1 starts all the way to long 11, that's the external branch. So all the points along the external branch are the one that we're going to needle in order to connect to the internal branch, which goes through the large intestine, the long and the middle jiao, which makes sense to me because the spleen and stomach in the 5-element theory is the earth element, and the earth generates metal or generates a good long and large intestine. So the long and the large intestine have to be connected to the digestive system because the digestive system generates a good immune system, and it's found in the large intestine in the gut. See the relationship here? It's so important that we understand the pathways of the meridians as well, so we know how we can utilize them in clinical practice and their connection to each other. So one of the functions, like I said, of the main meridian is to connect the internal organs through the points to the external part of the body. That's how we look at them. And the last function is the 12 main meridians really balance body, mind, and spirit. Now let's look at their characteristics. The 12 main meridians travel up and down vertically. So all of them are vertical, there's no horizontal. They are all bilateral, so always on both sides. They run exteriorly and interiorly vice versa, so always connecting the interior with the external. And they form a whole because the cyclical flow of qi allows them to have a flow that's constantly going. It never stops. Now let's look at the cyclical flow of qi within the 12 meridians. It can start anywhere you want. It doesn't matter because it's a continuum of qi flow linking all the meridians together. But let's start at the long, which connects to the large intestine. That's the next flow of qi because the long and large intestine are related, yin and yang pairing. Then the next one is the stomach, followed by the spleen, the heart, small intestine, bladder, kidney, pericardium, sanjiao, gallbladder, liver, and back to the long. First of all, when you start, the first 4 are tie-in meridian, the long is the hand tie-in, and the foot tie-in is the spleen. And we're going to talk about the names of the meridians after, okay? Now, when you look at the stomach and the large intestine, they're both yang-min meridian. So the large intestine is a hand yang-min, and the stomach is a foot yang-min. So see how the first 4 are all connected, both tie-in, long and spleen, both yang-min, large intestine and stomach. So there's a connection there. Then the next 4 after the spleen is heart and small intestine, kidney and bladder. Heart and kidney are both shao yin. Heart is hand Shaoyan, kidney is foot Shaoyan. Small intestine and bladder are both Tai Yang. Small intestine is hand Tai Yang, bladder is foot Tai Yang. See how amazing it is? The whole cyclical flow of qi to me blows my mind because it so makes sense and it's very well organized. And the last four, when we continue, is pericardium and Sanjiao, liver and gallbladder. Both liver and pericardium are Jue Yin meridians, hand and foot. And Sanjiao and gallbladder are both Shaoyang meridian, hand and foot. Isn't that so cool? Okay, so when we look at those, we can see the relationship each of the four that are continuing, right? Now, another thing that happened during the cyclical flow of qi is it's going to be hand, hand, foot, foot. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Okay, so we got two hands, long and large intestine, followed by two foot meridians, stomach and spleen. And it continues like this. It goes between hand and foot. So we have a cyclical flow of qi that continues to really provide qi all over the body and connects all the parts, the upper part, the lower part, and everything. Another thing about the cyclical flow of qi is that all yang meridians go to the head. No yin meridian goes to the head. Remember, if you compare the body with the head is more yang, the body is more yin. So the yin meridians do not go to the head, only the yang meridians do, because this is the most yang part of the body. That's how you remember that. The yang meridians all go to the head, small intestine, large intestine, sanjiao, and then gallbladder and stomach and bladder, right? You could see that. They're really long meridian. The longest meridians are the stomach, the bladder, and the gallbladder, when you think about it. Okay, now we look at this, and we look at the fact that we're going to start at the chest with the long, long one, and we're going to go down. That's the direction of the long meridian. It goes from the chest down to the hand. From the large intestine, it goes from the hand back up to the head. Okay, so remember this. We go chest down to the hand, hand back up to the head. Stomach is the next one. From the head, goes all the way down to the foot. And spleen 1, starts at the foot and goes back up to the chest. Okay, so let's do that again. Long, chest to hand, large intestine, hand to head, stomach, head to foot, and spleen, foot to chest. We're back on the chest after the first four. Second thing happen again. Heart starts at the chest. Small intestine goes to the head, bladder goes to the foot, and kidney comes back to the chest. That's the second one. So it's always the same thing. Chest to hand, hand to head to foot, foot to chest. You got me? Okay, and the last one is the same. Pericardium starts at the chest, goes down to the hand. Sanjiao goes from the hand to the head. Gallbladder from the head to the foot. And liver from the foot back to the chest. And we start from the lung again, down to the hand. See, the flow of qi is fantastic and marvelous. So remember this. Again, I'm going to do it again because I think it's like a song. When I was in school, we did like a song. We were chanting, saying chest to hand to head to foot, foot to chest. Okay? And you repeat that 3 times. Now, what's interesting is that it's all on one side, it feels like. How does this side connect to the opposite side? That's intriguing, right? Well, remember that the large intestine meridian pathway, this is the only meridian in the whole body that crosses to the other side. So the large intestine starts at the hand or at the index finger, and it goes up and it finishes at large intestine 20, but it crosses the body just above the lip here and finishes on that side. That's the only meridian that crosses the body. So obviously, when we start at the, let's say the lung for the qi flow, we're going to start at the chest, down to the hand to the head, and we end up on the other side. So now we can do the whole flow all the way here. When we finish at the liver up here, down from the lung down, large intestine up, and then we cross to the other side. Isn't that awesome? This is why when you pick a point like large intestine 4 and you have a headache on the opposite side, it works really well if you choose large intestine 4 on the opposite side of the headache, because the flow of qi crosses specifically at the large intestine meridian. Isn't that mind-blowing? So cool. To me, it makes so much sense. So I hope that's really helping for you to understand how we go about choosing point in clinical practice because of the meridian theory, which is fascinating. So here you can see the graphic that kind of helps you understand. This is part of my book, the Acupoint Made Easy book, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like, right? So we have 3 yin meridians that start at the chest and go down to the hand. And it's easy to remember which one because their organ is always located in the chest. The heart, the lung, and the pericardium are all 3 of them on the chest. So it's easy to remember, aha, those 3 start at the chest because the organs are at the chest and they go down to the hand. Now you look at their opposite meridians, the large intestine, the small intestine, and the sanjiao, which are opposite of heart, lung, and pericardium, start at the hand and finish at the head. Remember, only yang meridian goes to the head. Then at the head, we have the stomach, which is a yang meridian, the gallbladder, and the bladder, and it goes all the way down to the foot. Those 3 yang meridian go from the head to the foot. And then the 3 yin foot meridian start at the foot, the spleen, the liver, and the kidney, and they finish at the chest. Yes? So we got 3 yin meridians from the chest down to the hand, 3 yang meridian from the hand up to the head, 3 yang meridian from the head down to the foot, and 3 yin meridian from the foot up to the chest. That's your cyclical flow of qi. Yes? Now let's look at the names of the meridian. We have 6 yin and 6 yang meridians. We have 6 foot, 6 hand. So let's start with the most surface. So even though the 12 main meridians are the deepest of all the layers, within each of those meridians, there's some that are more surface and some that are deeper. So the Tai Yang meridians, which are the small intestine and the bladder, which cover the back and the head area, are the most surface. This is why those 2 meridians are great to use when there's external pathogen invasion. So when you look at bladder 12, for example, it's an upper back point that is really good to help expel external pathogen invasion, specifically like excess cold. See, this is how we utilize this in clinical practice. And Tai Yang usually means greater yang. The next one is the Yang Ming, or the brightest yang. The Yang Ming is going to be the large intestine at the hand, and the foot's going to be the stomach. Yang Ming meridians have the most qi and the most blood. That means they carry the most qi and the most blood. That means that they are very powerful to be used for acute and chronic issue, and they resolve those issues or help the body self-heal much faster. Okay? The next layer gets a little bit deeper, which is the sanjiao and the gallbladder, which are called the shao yang. Shao yang means lesser yang, so a little bit less yang, because they are going to be so close to the yin meridian, right? They're going a little bit more deeper. So the shao yang is often referred to as the revolving door between the yin and the yang, between the internal and the external. And you can see the gallbladder meridian, for example, it's zigzagging, right? It's front, back, it zigzags all the way down. It doesn't know if it wants to be in the front, in the back, it's not really sure. So it's in between the sanjiao at the shoulder and the back of the shoulder, but it starts coming up to the front, right? It ends up in the front. So it's front and back, yin and yang. So it's really the shao yang is that revolving door, which means those are great meridian to use when we have acute and chronic issue at the same time, but also things that are affecting the body externally and internally at the same time, or an alternative between hot and cold, or upper heat, lower cold, where the opposite is always going to be there. In some patients, we want to use the Shaoyang meridians. Isn't that cool? Okay, the next names or layers as we get deeper is the lung and spleen, which are Tai Yin, which means greater yin. So the lung and spleen, if you look at all the yin meridian, they're the most surface of the yin one, but obviously they're deeper than all the yang ones, right? And lung and spleen are a very good relationship because spleen is the mother of lung in the 5-element theory. So they relate really well in clinical practice. The next layer is the Shao Yin. Shao Yin means lesser yin, and it is going to be the heart and the kidney. Those are Shaoyin meridian. The Shaoyin meridian have the least amount of qi and the least amount of blood. It doesn't mean that they're not useful. Of course, we use heart 7, kidney 3, kidney 7, heart point, kidney point all the time. However, if there is a heart and kidney issue, that means that it's deep-seated. Heart is usually the mind, kidney is the root of who we are, our essence, so it's harder to treat and it's harder to address. That's why you look at them having less qi and less blood. It means that we're going to need a lot more treatment or a few more sessions than if we use meridians like the Yangmin meridian, large intestine and stomach, because those have a lot of qi and a lot of blood. So we're going to resolve the problem a little bit faster. Does that make sense? And the last, or the deepest of all meridians, when it comes to 12 meridians, is the Jue Yin. Jue Yin means the end of yin, so kind of like at the bottom, right? Pericardium and liver are the Jue Yin meridian. And what's interesting is if you look at blood stasis, for example, and what's interesting is if there is heat affecting the Jue Yin meridian, it will affect the liver and the pericardium. This is why we have liver fire. It affects our mind and we can't sleep and we get irritable. It really affects the pericardium and we feel really restless. So this is when we can look at points from the pericardium and the liver to calm that fire, but also calm the mind, like pericardium 8 and liver 2. Does that make sense? I think to me, the acupuncture channel theory makes so much sense when you think about it, look at it from a deeper lenses. Before we continue to look at Western medicine's view on meridians and how to communicate to our patients in a way they can understand, I want to remind you that below this video, I have the link to the meridian layers, the 8-vessel video, and the Luo collateral video as well that goes much more in depth. Western medicine view on acupuncture looks at it from a perspective of where the points are located. There's a high concentration of minute nerves that are superficial, but also blood vessel. And as you can see, neuromuscular attachment where vessels and nerves penetrate muscle fascia. When we insert a needle in those areas of high concentration of minute nerve, they send a signal to the brain through the spinal cord for the body to self-regulate, to release endorphin, to decrease inflammation, to literally self-heal. How do I explain to patients how acupuncture works? I always say this is very simple. It literally nudges your body to self-regulate, to self-heal. When I needle a point, the minute nerve sends a signal to the central nervous system for your body to self-regulate. It's very simple. It doesn't cure or treat anything. It helps the body self-heal. This is why it's awesome and acupuncture rocks. When looking at neurology, acupuncture points are strategic conductors of electromagnetic signals. Stimulating acupuncture point induces the release of endorphins, which can help in pain management and connecting to the central nervous system. When it comes to the immune system, acupuncture is great to stimulate a response and stimulate the immune system to release antihistamine for allergies or to help the body really get its fighter, its antigen, activated. It also is really proven by many studies that acupuncture increases the level of white blood cells, balance specific hormones and other substances that can improve immune function and overall health. It's fantastic! Woohoo! When it comes to the circulatory system, acupuncture promotes the dilation of blood vessel to improve blood flow. This can help reduce blood pressure and support the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to tissues. Obviously, that's how we reduce inflammation. So cool. See, we can totally explain to patients how acupuncture works in a scientific way because that's going to help them really trust your ability to help them because they didn't go to school and they don't know Qi and they don't know the whole gamut of things we learned that are very TCM related, right? So we want to talk to them in a way they totally grasp and understand. Acupuncture also can block signals from reaching the brain. That's why it's used so much in lieu of anesthetic. When people cannot have anesthetic because they are allergic or there's issue, it is used a lot in dentistry as well to relieve the pain while they're working on the person's mouth. So cool. Acupuncture can also trigger the release of various biochemicals such as hormones and neurotransmitters, which can regulate and balance the hormones in the body. This is what I do a lot when it comes to fertility and women's health and men's health. And it reduces inflammation, alleviates stress, and relieve anxiety. This is why totally acupuncture rocks. The meridian system also corresponds to the body fascial network. We totally hear about fascia all the time, which is a web of connective tissue surrounding and connecting muscle, organs, and other tissues. Well, acupuncture works by stimulating the fascia, affecting the structural and functional health of the body. This is so cool, right? I truly hope that this channel theory with the Western science behind it can help you understand how you select point, how you treat patients, but also how you communicate to your patients the amazing benefits of acupuncture. Check out the meridian layers right here to go deeper into the channel theory. And no matter what, keep rocking it using TCM.